Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. So guys, for today's video, we're going to be talking about why I believe, in my opinion, the 2022 NBA playoffs have been disappointing so far. Now, I want to preface this video by first saying that I'm not saying that the playoffs haven't been enjoyable, because there are very little things as exciting as the NBA, MLB, and NFL playoffs. And even if there's a lot of games that aren't as good, even if in the big picture, the postseason it isn't as good as most years, doesn't mean it's not enjoyable, because the storylines will always be there, and then what's at stake will always be interesting and worth watching. So this doesn't mean that I'm not interested or haven't been interested in watching the playoffs up to this point, because I've enjoyed them. But with that being said, I've come up with 3 reasons specifically why I feel that the 2022 NBA playoffs have not been as enjoyable as other years. In other words, why they've been disappointing despite so many close teams this year without one absolute standout, dominant, super team type of team. So I've come up with these 3 reasons, and I'm going to give them to you right now. Definitely make sure to comment your opinions. Let me know, have the playoffs been disappointing for you? But with that being said, guys, here are the 3 reasons why I believe the playoffs have been disappointing, okay? Number 1, there have been too many blowouts. A prime example was Game 7 between the Suns and Warriors, right? That was just one of the most shocking, ridiculous games I'd ever seen, regardless of whether or not it was a Game 7. Just the fact that that was a playoff game, I can't even believe what happened. I don't know what happened with the Suns. And then the 2 Celtics wins against the conference finals so far in this series, they've been blowouts. The Sixers closeout game against the Raptors has been a blowout. There's just been a lot of blowouts. And even if they're not 20, 30, or 40-point blowouts, because there's been a fair share of those, we haven't had that many dramatic finishes, down-to-the-wire, pressure-filled games where a team might win by 1 or 2 points. It comes down to the last possession. We've had a couple, but I feel like in most postseasons we have a ton of these games, a ton of those Sports Center-worthy highlight games. A lot of times we see a team get ahead, and even if they're not ahead by a ridiculous amount of points, there's a surmountable lead. These are a lot of games there's not an insurmountable lead. I've seen teams be up by 10, 12, 15, and then other teams not really push back that much. There's been a lot of dragging going on, not a lot of close, down-to-the-wire, edge-of-your-seat games, at least not as many as most postseasons. So that's the first reason I feel that the 2022 playoffs have been disappointing. Then we move on to our second reason, and that is the injuries. We've had so many injuries to star-level players. I even made a list here. Chris Middleton, okay, he didn't play the entire postseason for the Bucks. He was a prominent reason, probably the second biggest reason, other than Giannis, of course, that the Bucks won the championship last year. He is their closer. They need him. So I don't fault them whatsoever for losing to the Celtics and taking them to 7 games. So Chris Middleton, obviously Ja Morant, clearly the best player on the Grizzlies. Yes, the statistics will tell you that the Grizzlies have played better without Ja Morant, but I still think with your best player, you always have a better shot of advancing as far as possible, maximizing your potential in the postseason. I'm not saying they would have beaten the Warriors, but it would have been nice to have at least have seen the Grizzlies with the home court advantage and the number 2 seed at least have a chance with their full strength. So that sucked. Those 2 injuries really sucked. Fred VanVleet for the Raptors was an all-star for the first time this year. He missed the closeout game against the Sixers, and what happened? They lost by 35 points. So that sucked. Zach LaVine, all-star as well this year. He missed the closeout game against the Bucks. Not that the Bulls had a chance whatsoever to win that series, but it would have been nice to see him play. Lonzo Ball was hurt the last half of the year for the Bulls, so he's not really a star, but he's a very important player. Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray for the Nuggets pretty much didn't play the entire year, but for the Nuggets to make the playoffs was still very impressive regardless. And then Ben Simmons was injured, not really injured, according to what most people believe, including myself. He's in his own category of just wimped out of the series and the entire postseason. But technically speaking, we have to believe that he was injured, guys. He had a sore back eating Cheetos on the couch, obviously, so he didn't play. It would have been nice to have seen him play and the Nets be at full strength. Zion didn't play the whole year, but still would have been more. And maybe the Pelicans beat the Suns if Zion plays in that series. And then Joel Embiid, even though he didn't, he did miss the first 2 games against the Heat, so that sucked. And then towards the end of the series, clearly wasn't 100% with that orbital fracture, so that sucks. A lot of teams not at full strength, so that is a big reason why this postseason's been disappointing. It's happened in the past. I remember the 2013 postseason had a lot of injuries. It was a big reason why the Grizzlies, I think, were a 5 seed and got to the conference finals, because the 1-seeded Thunder lost Russell Westbrook, and that's why they beat them in the second round. That was the year Kobe tore his Achilles. I just remember a lot of injuries in the 2013 playoffs, created a lot of parity, which is one bright side that happens. Parity is always interesting, but still, you like to see teams at full strength, and the true upsets are against the higher seeds that are actually fully healthy most of the time. So, first reason, too many blowouts. Second reason, too many injuries. Now, these things are unavoidable. They happen. Accidents happen. You can't control them. It just is what it is. Sometimes you get unlucky. But this third reason is very much avoidable, and honestly, it's my biggest gripe with this postseason that's annoyed me. It's the choking. Too much choking. There's always chokers every postseason, and this year, the people that choke, those problems resurfaced. I was hoping people like Chris Paul, James Harden, I'm going to throw Doc Rivers in there too. These three people, well, he's bunched in with James Harden. They're on the same team, which is just a recipe for absolute disaster in the postseason. But I was really hoping that James Harden, first, we're going to talk about him, could prove the doubters wrong. He forced his way out of Brooklyn to come to Philadelphia, where he truly said that he wanted to be. Even last year, he wanted to really go to Philadelphia, not Brooklyn. So last year, with Brooklyn, he was hurt in the Bucks series. We'll give him that. After years of choking with the Rockets, this was his chance to team up with Embiid. I thought if they both played really well and Harden could turn his postseason demons around, I thought the Sixers could make it out of the East, and I thought they would, because I really felt like James Harden was going to prove the doubters wrong. He was motivated this year. He knew all eyes were on him, and what does he do? He probably had his worst postseason ever. I mean, just so inefficient. I think he only shot above 50% from the field in one game this postseason. Absolutely terrible, and he looks like he's out of shape. Couldn't do his normal James Harden of 3 or 4 years ago MVP-type crossover moves. Wasn't even that effective on offense, and then don't even get me started on defense. So lazy. I just got the feeling this year that he really doesn't care about winning that much. So he really disappointed, even beyond what I could have even possibly imagined. So a lot of choking from James Harden's part. Doc Rivers, he's a big-time choker as a coach. We remember last year blowing a 3-1 lead. We remember him blowing a 3-1 lead with the Clippers twice, and then does have a championship, so it's not like he has as much to prove as James Harden. But when you mix him with James Harden, oh man, for the most part, look out. There's a lot of panic. There's potential for panic, potential for choking, and fans will be uneasy because of it. And then we have the Nets. This is more about Ben Simmons, but still, Kevin Durant did not play well. Kyrie Irving, these guys, they disappointed. I will give the Celtics defense credit because they did lock them up, but KD and Kyrie were really disappointing, and I thought the Nets had a chance to beat the Celtics, but I definitely didn't think they would get swept, so that was kind of a choke job, but nothing will top the choke job of Chris Paul, CP3, and the Phoenix Suns. I mean, you're up 2-0 last year in the finals. You blow the 2-0 lead, 4 in a row to the Bucks. Lose the title. Come back this year with clearly the best record the entire season. You were the best team, indisputably, which one's the right word? I'm going to say indisputably. That sounds more correct. You were indisputably the best team this year. You had like a 7-8 game lead over the second best team in the league the entire season. Comfortably got that 1 seed. It looked like, or franchise record wins, 64 wins for the Suns. This was going to be the year. The young guys have finals experience now. This was the year you turn it around. This was the year you finally win a championship, CP3. This is the year the Suns finally win a championship and all those demons get put to bed. And they were doing just fine 2 games into the Mavs series, but not. They once again found a way to top themselves. CP3 and the Suns blow a 2-0 lead, lose Game 7 at home by 1,000,000 points. I was just so shocked at the no-show that the Suns were in Game 7. I'm still blown away by it. I mean, seriously, they were the better team than the Mavs. Yes, the Mavs made their threes. Their defense was good. I got to give them all that credit, but still, it takes some serious choking to be the #1 seed and lose by 40 in your own home in Game 7. So that is inexcusable. I can't believe the Suns did that. CP3 has blown 5 2-0 leads in his career. No other player's even done it 4 times. So the choking needs to stop. So for those 3 reasons, the choking basically deprived us of the matchups we wanted to see the most. We wanted to see Suns and Warriors. I wanted to see Nets and Sixers in the conference finals. The storyline of that from the trade they made, Ben Simmons for James Harden. That would have been interesting, but these choke jobs prevented the best possible matchups, in my opinion. But guys, those are the 3 reasons I believe the postseason's been disappointing. I'm still going to watch it. Hey, maybe it gets better from this point. Maybe the finals are going to be awesome, but definitely comment your opinions, guys. Let me know. Has the postseason been disappointing to you? Let me know. Like the video if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Consider doing it if you're a sports fan. I'm sure you won't regret it, hopefully. And I'll see you guys in the next video.